So, gentlemen, the last time we spoke about Ground Zeroes, we had Damiani in the room. He sang us a song. And the conclusion mostly was that Ground Zeroes would ultimately be a glorified demo. Has that happened?
No.
Yes.
Yes, perfect. I'm glad we have so many varying opinions.
It has.
Blair, you should start then. Why is it a glorified demo? Because,
honestly, the first mistake I think they made was having it hit credits after you finish the first mission. Your favorite song. That I guarantee you turned off a lot of people that were on the fence but still bought it. You know, you play it for, and I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of people were saying, oh, it's only 2 hours or whatever. I actually finished it in 1.
Yeah, me too. 72 minutes was my first playthrough.
I was around 66.
Yeah.
And I explored, I did, you know, walked around the grounds, killed a lot of people, tried out the new mechanics, but I was convinced that most people said 2 hours, it would take me at least 3, because I usually take my time with it. Mm-hmm. And I finished it in 66 or so. Yeah. Now, that doesn't bother me quite so much because there are lots of other missions that you can try. They change the environment. You can go back in. You can do more things. Perfectly fine. But when you hit credits and you're sitting there for almost as long as you were sitting through cutscenes, that's kind of a problem. That put a sour taste in my mouth. Now, I'm going to go back and I'm going to keep playing it for the next year and I'm going to love it. But my mistake was going back in and playing the other missions after the credits. The other missions just feel like more Peace Walker, just HD.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is fine.
The other missions they're non-canon. They don't exist within the world of Metal Gear Solid, so something's already taken out
they do.
from them, you know?
They do to a certain extent because you get the VO from Commander Miller, I think it is.
Right.
Or just Miller. And he kind of outlines why this mission was sort of important, and he names characters that are probably going to be referenced again. And
yeah, that sniper team, come on, that's some awesome lore right there. The hand and the finger or whatever, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and you know, you're essentially taking on clients to kill people, to get tapes, to kind of further the story along. It seems a little richer than the mini missions in Peace Walker did. It feels like those could possibly be connected, but at the end of the day, probably not. They probably just had to try to get as much content out of this thing as they could to justify us paying for it.
What bugs me about the demo comment is that a demo is part of a game that's going to be released. This is not part of the Phantom Pain. This is Ground Zeroes. This will not be played in the Phantom Pain. When you get a demo, it's like, okay, I'm going to play the first 10 minutes of this game, and then I'm going to come back to it when the full game is released and play that same 10 minutes again, because it's just a little chunk of it and it's a demo. It's like, no, this is standalone prologue. You have the Ground Zeroes mission, you have all the other side missions. I know a lot of people are like, oh, the side missions, you know, it's like Peace Walker, but they're still fun to go through at least once or twice on normal and hard. And then there's all the unlockables, which I'm going to get into later.
You're gonna get skins.
Skins?
Yeah, I just got the PS1 Snake last night. I unlocked that skin.
Well, I don't have the luxury of that mission being unlocked.
So we should talk about that. Huber, you're steamed today. You walked in steamed.
Yeah, I'm a little on edge.
Irked.
Yeah. So last night, because the plan was to have that unlocked for today so we could capture it and put it up on the site, the two, I'm not going to say exclusive.
They're exclusive.
The two console-specific missions, the unlockable for getting all the patches, cannot unlock Deja Vu.
The funnest side mission.
Yeah. Went through on hard. I was like, okay, maybe on hard, like I can, they reset. Patches aren't there. So I think I have to manually delete my save data at this point to do it. Now, is this a Kojima troll, or is this a glitch?
It's not a troll.
What do you think this is?
No, I've played the mission. A person with a working save file can do it. And I think you had a rare bug, and I think it totally sucks, but...
So I guess I just gotta start over.
Huber-specific bug, yeah. One thing I really want to talk about Ground Zeroes, beyond this narrative of is it a demo, is it long enough, is its tone. I feel like with Ground Zeroes, with Metal Gear Solid 5, Metal Gear Solid has its tone back. And that's a weird thing to me. So I think that it kind of got lost. I think Metal Gear Solid used to be not quite always like serious, but always its own like thing. It was respected, and I think the series lost its respect around Metal Gear Solid 4. In this time where we had internet complainers, you know what I mean? And it is a game with like a monkey in a diaper.
And you had the fair weather fans that will jump in and be like, well, this is going to be the definitive one, so I'll finally play 4. Like, we have people in this office that work at GameTrailers whose first Metal Gear Solid game was 4.
Whoa, dude, that's so crazy. So yeah, so the way I feel about it is that like it's adaptive. It's strange for me for a series to hit 5 and still be relevant, and not just go off this goofy end. Snake appears in Smash Bros, and it's really hard to get that character serious again, you know what I mean? Different Snake, that was Solid Snake. But it does something to the brand, you know what I mean, when it gets dragged through all these weird things. And it's exciting to me to see the Metal Gear Solid brand brought back into like this like heavy spot again. And
it's cool because of the time period, you're going back. So that just has this weird nostalgia factor to it, you know? It's like playing through it, I was like, man, sure could go for some Octo camo right about now. I've had that feeling like numerous times.
You want your radar back,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
but it is cool. Nice to be able to dip into the timeline at any point.
Exactly.
And actually feel comfortable. Like, it doesn't matter which Snake you're playing. It doesn't necessarily matter who's voicing him.
Yeah, actually.
Kiefer Sutherland did a fantastic job.
He caught me off guard. He's a pleasant surprise.
There are a few times definitely where it doesn't really feel that comfortable, and since we didn't have that much time within the game to get used to his voice, I do wish that it was a little longer just on that basis alone to get a little bit more used to Kiefer Sutherland. But you're right about the grittiness of the whole thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's dark.
Specifically the ending, and we can put spoiler tags on this or not, but the way that the Ground Zeroes mission ends was very unexpectedly gritty for me.
Yeah, it's hard.
It is.
It's like...
And Kojima's been preparing us this whole
time. If that's the tone that's being set to get us ready for 5.
The only catch is you go in solo. The politically sensitive nature of the mission means backup is not an option.
Fine. I like some alone time now and then.
One last thing I did want to talk about is, and it kind of ties into Kiefer, it ties into everything. I feel like Ground Zeroes is a buffer. I feel like Ground Zeroes exists to get us prepared for Phantom Pain, get us more familiar with Kiefer Sutherland, get us more familiar with all these new mechanics and everything. So when Phantom Pain comes out, we're hitting the ground running. We're ready to call helicopters. We're ready to listen to the guy from 24 be Snake. How do you feel about that?
All those things are the benefits that we can get from it, but you can't really ignore the fact that this was more likely put out because A, they couldn't get the game ready for this year, and B, they had this thing that they put together, this mission environment with all of the teaser material that maybe it either didn't fit into the game or it made the game too long or whatever. I mean, Kojima teased us saying that he needed to do rewrites of like part 1, part 2. He was teasing us about inconsistencies and all this stuff. Whether you believe him or not, that's completely up to you. But it would make sense to me that if he actually did do rewrites, regardless of how Phantom Pain turns out, Ground Zeroes didn't necessarily fit into it, but they still wanted to put it out there and get money off of it. They're like, hey, we've got this thing. It's a neatly put together package. Why not give our fans something early, something to look forward to? I don't think they put it out there necessarily to prepare us for anything, but it is an obvious benefit for us having it a year early and seeing what's to come. In the conversation earlier, one of the main questions we posed ourselves is when we pay for this and we play it and we look back on it at any given time, do we say that we wasted our money? Right. I certainly do not feel bad for spending $30. I would not have felt very bad for spending $40. Now, the comments I made earlier about feeling like it is kind of a demo, it is. I think it is, but I don't feel bad for having spent the money, and I'm going to continue playing it. I will play it again tonight. I will play it again this weekend. And after I get 20 hours out of this thing, I'm not going to feel the same way I did today.
Yeah.
I'm going to be happy that I spent the money on it. I'm going to be happy that I have another game to play on my PS4, and it looks gorgeous, and it plays extremely well.
And it's just fun thinking about the possibilities of Phantom Pain. Like, now that you've played Ground Zeroes, it's like I can't even imagine how crazy it's going to be. Like, the Ground Zeroes base is like, okay, go rescue these people right here. Whereas Phantom Pain, 200 times bigger, is going to be like, go rescue someone that's 30 minutes by horse that way. Here you go. Like,
and the sun is rising.
Sun is rising, open-ended, just total freedom.
Whale made out of fire.
Oh my god. I'm ready. I'm so ready.